So as we sat here on this really scorching day in the middle of June, you'll probably listen to this in July,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and this heat wave would have passed, but yeah, we are absolutely roasting here, aren't we? And some of you may have listened a few episodes ago. We did an episode about where we gave each other questions that we'd not heard before. So what we did is we wrote down questions for each other. Didn't tell each other what we were going to ask each other. And sort of riffed from there, didn't we?
It was fun as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think, again, the fact that we didn't know what was coming, you probably got more honest answers about it. And then I think today, for a day, let's be honest about this, it was very, very hot. Like, we're trying to do our best. We've got the doors open, so there's some weird noises that go on. Like, that's the wind and stuff blowing outside, or heat or whatever. So it could be a wild ride to strap in. But I think it's the perfect episode, I think, for the kind of the way it is today. And it seems crap to kind of start an episode with a list of apologies. But hopefully, again, you're sat in an office marginally cooler now and not needing like net fans and sat in your pants and stuff to survive. I did debate it, and then I realised that we're going to be on camera, so that wasn't really an option.
I'm just glad I don't have a wedding. It's meant to be 37 degrees tomorrow. It's like,
it's wild, isn't it? That's destination weather. That's not. But then that comes with aircon and kind of a whole different raft of things.
Yeah,
than
the UK one does not. It's just like
not built
sit
for
outside in the sun
and melt. But the thing is, at a summer wedding though, it could also be the other way. And like I've had grooms that have always seemed to have picked wool suits or three-piece heavy things because they go, it was never supposed to be this warm. And it's like, well, you do buy an outfit, don't you, for that day, and you can't book the weather in advance.
We prepared for rain, so a thick suit, a thick three-piece suit, and it's
mad.
37 degrees.
And we were talking off camera, weren't we? Because we were saying it was pretty much a year ago, this weekend just passed, that we had the heat wave before. And then we did the episode following that about Shortsgate and kind of is it acceptable and this and that. And it's really funny because I think probably the update to that is if you go and listen to that episode, both of us it's like, yep, it's totally fine, this the rest of it. And
it should be comfortable.
And we were saying off camera, weren't we, though, that actually even though this year we've both pretty much U-turned on that. Like, I feel now that I think if I was somewhere extremely, extremely hot and the wedding, I knew that other people were going to be dressed the same, I would feel it. But I don't know, this year, I just kind of think, and I said to you, like, I saw a picture of myself from the other wedding by the end of the day, and I did feel like I just looked a little bit scruffy. Yeah,
that's what done me too. I wore short sleeve shirt and shorts last year to a wedding, and my second shooter shot me I was like walking towards him and he was shooting me, and so I did a little dance going towards him. I thought this would be a really good spot on Instagram, so I opened it up, saw me, and I was like, I don't look like as presentable as I'd want to be. So I think you can do smart in shirt and shorts, but I don't think it works for me anyway. So
I think maybe we see it in context because you're looking at that footage when it's not super hot. So
true.
I guess that though, and whilst I do agree is that couple's only one day, and I say it's a lot that they shouldn't get a different experience to anybody else. I think that it probably only is still maybe one wedding of a year, or that I've even gone, do you know what, I think I'm going to struggle to do my job today. And so I must admit, I had a wedding the other week where I was like, I'm going to church, there's no way that I can wear shorts, it's going to be nearly 30, and I put my shorts in the car, and I had a full kind of plan then that I was like, if I get to dinner and I'm melting, I feel like to change into shorts for the evening maybe is a little bit more acceptable. And in the end I got to the day and then I was like, do you know what, I just kind of feel as I am. I was like, I'm that hot underneath, I'm not sure I want to take these trousers off and try and do that in a kind of hotel toilet. So I was like, just stayed in the trousers all the way through. But it's interesting to kind of see, isn't it, kind of that like conversation on heat.
For the most part, there's nothing that like a pair of lightweight trousers can't do that shorts can do anyway. I don't think, if anything, you're going to get hot legs if the sun's right on your legs anyway. And one of the reasons I did change my mind is because I decided when I shot the wedding in Spain last year, I decided just to wear my same what I wear here, like just a long sleeve shirt and trousers, and it was absolutely fine. And I was like, actually, this isn't too bad. So didn't feel as uncomfortable because I was like, actually look presentable and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think like you said as well then, and again, like I wouldn't exactly class myself as a fashionista or someone that you should take fashion advice from by any stretch. But I think a lot of it is about the fit of stuff. Like you've said, that the trousers that I now wear to weddings are a lot more, I wouldn't say baggy, but they are looser than maybe 2 or 3 years ago when my standard uniform was black skinny jeans and then a top. like black skinny jeans in hot weather is an absolute no-no. To be in the shorts then maybe would have been far better as an option.
Yeah.
But I feel that now that I'm wearing sort of lighter, more cotton, sort of loose trousers anyway, even on that day I kind of felt there's a little bit of a flow and movement in like I didn't actually feel that my trousers were stuck to my legs.
Exactly,
so I think that makes it more comfortable in the end, that probably being in those looser trousers was better for me than being in shorts.
Yeah, if you're wearing black tight trousers or black jeans, it's going to get hot, isn't it?
Like I felt there's days, those years previous where I've had to like lay down to wriggle out of my trousers at the end of the day because it's been that hot, and that's not a look for anyone. So I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? So again, I guess if you shot weddings when we recorded this in that real hot weather, like what did you do? It'd be interesting to kind of see and open that debate up again, because I always kind of feel it's nice to kind of refresh and see how
there will always be a debate, won't there? And even amongst videographers, there's different types of people who wear different things. Like some people are adamant they've got to wear their sort of brown brogues, and I'm like, I actually just couldn't. Like, no matter how comfortable brown brogues are, they're not as comfortable as my Skechers. Yeah. And that's what matters to me most. And that's why I look presentable. And then I've got these black trainer Skechers on, which don't look very nice, but that's my priority. So
it's mad. But I also see people are shooting far higher end weddings than I shoot, though, in a suit and trainers.
Yeah.
And I think, they actually look quite cool. And I think some of it is very much how your brand is, how you're perceived, what you deem as comfortable, what you need to do to get the job done, how your clients take those. There's so many factors at play, isn't there? So I don't think there is a one size fits all, but it's a fun debate to have nonetheless, isn't it? Yeah.
That was a really off topic.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that wasn't one of either of our questions. It was just something to kind of keep on that comment for the weather.
It's good to revisit old opinions, though, isn't it? Especially as we've done this now for a few years.
Yeah.
It's been like 3 years now, wasn't it? 2-3 years.
Yeah, so we started in 2023. So we're over 3 years in, which is wild.
Things are going to change, and our way of thinking is going to change as well. So
definitely. Yeah,
it's good to revisit old things.
But it's hard, isn't it? Because I've found that when we come to making or finding ideas for episodes, there's so much to go, we could do that, and then go, we did that. And it might have been a really long time ago that we did it, but I still kind of feel like I never want to feel for you guys that it's like an episode that you've heard before, because there are so many of you that have been here since the beginning. And also, again, it's kind of just, revisiting things with good reason, I guess, rather than like, we haven't done an evening, how we record the evening for a while, let's do that.
But I feel like even some of those would be different now to how they were when we first recorded them. So it'll be interesting to go back to old episodes and revisit them maybe in a future episode and be like...
Maybe there's a fun episode in that. Of maybe actually kind of taking some points or some sound bites for some old episodes and going, I can't believe I said that. That feels really alien to now. So
that would be pretty interesting,
Anyway, down to the questions.
Who is
going to go first?
I think I asked you first last episode, so do you want to ask?
Why not? Let's go first.
Fire away.
What have I got? How deep or interesting do I want to go first? Okay, maybe this might be a slightly exposing one, but it was one of the first ones that I thought of. How often do you watch your own wedding film versus how much you hope your couples watch your films?
So, I'm probably quite a good person to ask, because I think we watch ours once a year on our anniversary. We either watch the film or we watch the ceremony and speeches, but I don't think we watch both. So we just basically choose which one to watch. So I watch mine every year. I would hope that couples do the same. I would find it, I don't know, I'd find it slightly odd if just in the middle of the year you just pulled out your wedding film and started watching it, if it'd been a few years later. Because even like older school wedding films, they'd only come out at anniversaries, and then after like 10, 15 years, you might show your kid once and then that's it. So, but now they're much shorter. I'd like to think that people are watching that, sitting down on their anniversary and watching their films.
I think that's a comment, isn't it? Alone, so in perspective, if you, I don't expect you know to the second, but obviously you only got married 5 years ago this year.
Yeah.
And so did you have your highlights film is still a fairly short thing? It's not like you got a full long old school documentary style edit.
Yeah, so we've got a 3 to 4 minute edit, which to be fair we don't watch much, and the 15 to 20 minute one. So we would sit and watch the 15 to 20 minute one. Even that is probably a little bit long by these days' standards.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But
I still think it's a good length for the.
And you don't find yourself skipping bits of it or anything.
We had personal vows. Our speeches were really long. We had a lot going on during the day. So I feel like it was and we had a 12 p.m. ceremony, so it was a long day. So I feel like it was a reasonable amount of time having a 15 to 20 minute film. I think it'd be different if obviously the day was shorter or it rained or it didn't work out how we expected, but I think it kind of justifies it a little bit. And like I say, then we watch the ceremony or speeches depending. But I do know that actually it's not that simple when it comes to other couples. So I went to a wedding as a guest recently, and I filmed the groom's sister's wedding. a long time ago, probably. I don't know, it was at least it was probably 5 years ago. And they said to me, "Oh, we still haven't watched our film yet. We haven't had time to sit down and watch it." I was like, "Are you joking?"
Yeah.
But I think they just did it because they felt like they needed to do it for their wedding.
Yeah.
And I feel like I probably have a few couples like that a year, where it's like either the parents have paid the money for the wedding film, and they're probably the people that either don't respond, or you just get like a thanks, it's a nice video, and then like they'll never get it out again because they when they were planning their wedding, it was never important to them in the first place. It was just the parents gave them some money, get a video with this, and they just picked the first person they could find.
But I find that with my photo gallery as well, though. Sometimes you get a couple come in and you think, "Oh, I've delivered 800 photos to them," and it gets to sort of like a few days after the wedding, it's like, "Oh, you've downloaded 96." And I think, and then you always find they catch up. And now that I don't offer USBs, I am finding that as those expiry notices are going out a year's time, people then do tend to do the whole thing, or they do the whole thing straight away. But I think in some ways that's not always a bad thing. Like say if they booked it or because someone told them they should have it, I think I'd still rather have it in that box to go that day that you go, no, I really want to watch that. Or even again, maybe you think about these things because like Father's Day was this weekend just gone past, wasn't it, as we were recording this? And I always see then kind of those, you know, everyone, like couples that I shot weddings for like years and years ago, they still post that picture of, you know, like their dad walking them down the aisle or like him like in the drink reception or whatever. And they never post group photos. They never post group photos. No. They always post like a candid or like that aisle moment or like them doing something.
The group photos aren't for socials, they're for the wall.
Yeah, for the mantelpiece, definitely,
or for the album, so.
And so I find it interesting though that kind of those things do come back around. But I like to think that one day in a few years' time, that couple will be like, today's the day. And the fact that you made it and they've got it says far more about the longevity of what we do, doesn't it? It's not about I'm going to get it now so I can post it to my socials and make everyone that didn't come to my wedding jealous about how amazing it was. And then it just gets tossed aside. The fact that they've got it and that one day where they're missing someone that was at their wedding who's no longer here, or, you know, like maybe they're going through some rough times and it's like, do you know what, we can sit down and watch this and see, you know, how good things were when, you know, that long ago, and remind them, you know, any reason that you would pick your wedding film up, like maybe in one of those gaps throughout the year, you know.
Side note on that, as it actually is like, and again, like to sort of show the power of what we do, and I don't know what their situation is now, but I bumped into a groom whose wedding I filmed a long time ago, at a wedding, and obviously the bride was there as well, but so he said to me, you know, we've been through some hard times as a couple and that kind of thing, but recently we watched our wedding film and it really brought us back to sort of who we are and like helped us remember how we were and the people that we were, and like I think it really helped us stay together. I was like, wow, that's deep, not what I expected to
I suppose you can use them as a form of therapy, I think, because sadly I think as life goes on, and sadly we've probably all made films and photos for couples that have split up, but I think again life gets in the way, people have hard times and they do kind of drift away from, like, I know weddings are kind of a little bit of a dystopian bubble of kind of perfection sometimes, and even in as documentary as we are, there's still that element of like today is the fact that it goes ahead and it happens is these two people obviously like each other enough to make it happen. And I think to sometimes you need a little bit of that, like such a good look back at, you know, because like nostalgia can distort things in your head, can't it? But to kind of go, oh, we were those people, like we were a little bit younger, like we had a little less responsibilities, and we genuinely didn't mean like, and
just listen to my speech and what I said or my vows.
And those things I think, and it can kind of like almost use it as almost like a form of counselling, I suppose, to kind of realise, or maybe realise how much you have drifted.
But I probably watch it more than the average person, but once a year we'll watch it.
I always find that interesting, because I think I'll find as kind of maybe sometimes as kind of suppliers, we get too guilty that because weddings are so close all the time, or even just making general memories for yourself, is that we kind of preach this kind of like, you need to have the best, you need to invest in it, you need to this, and it's like, well, do we actually look at our own, you know?
I imagine most people don't, and I imagine it's the same with photos. I imagine like they might get it out once a year, but otherwise they might print them and never look at them again.
That's what I would find really interesting as to how people consume. Because I know for, you know, I do 30 weddings a year now. I probably only sell 3 or 4 albums a year. So a lot of those people do literally have their photos. Some of the really old ones is on DVD or on a USB or stacked in a Google Drive somewhere. I would love to know that on those anniversaries, how do they get that out and watch it? Do they watch the slideshow that I make for them, or do they sit and click through the photos old school? Or, you know, but I think if you had an album, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to kind of pour a glass of wine and cuddle up on the sofa and flick through your album. And that's
definitely.
And maybe that's the thing on me, because that's how I envisage that I want people to do it. So maybe I should push albums more than I do, or include them. Or
it's actually interesting to talk about photos, because I feel like even 5 years on, I remember most of the photos that were taken at my wedding, or I feel like I couldn't open them and be like, oh, do you remember that moment? Because I know that photo is there.
Yes.
So I feel like for me, the photo is going to be much more valuable in 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
maybe when I'm showing my daughter or something like that. But for now, what we did is we printed off a couple, like, you know, put a couple of our couple portraits on the wall, some family shots on, you know, in frames and things like that. And since then, we have not scrolled through our photos at all. So
yeah, because you feel that because they're there daily. Like they're there if you want it. You go, look, you know, if you walk up the stairs.
They're on my phone. So if I'm talking about my wedding and I'm like, oh yeah, this happened, and then I'll scroll through and show people. But in terms of like me and Kate like scrolling through our wedding photos, it wouldn't happen. And I think it's because it's in an active form of consumption.
Yeah.
With a wedding film, you can just sit and like back on the sofa and just let it play out. With photos, I feel like, especially when you're showing people, like I feel like you've got to be there with the mouse, like ready to click the next button, the next one, that kind of thing. Or with an album, you've got to be like scrolling, like flicking through and showing people. But mainly for me, it's like that memory of, okay, well, I know this might be just me, but I know the photos that were taken at my wedding. I don't need to look at them again. When I need like reminding of those sort of memories, I'll look back at them. But
I think as well, like as couples, or as photographers, we definitely, for the most part, deliver too much. Yeah. And if I was to show some of my wedding photos now, I would want to hold the mouse because they go, oh, these are just a bunch of dupes. Like, click through that, and it's like, well, why did I deliver so much? Like, or maybe that's why an album works, is because, you know, when I design an album for a couple, they got 700-800 finished images back. But the book's only got 100.
And these are the ones.
So it really is that kind of whistle stop. You know, there's some groups in there, there's some bits in there. It feels much more kind of curated. Yeah. And I know that obviously there's been a conversation that I've seen kind of recently with some people that actually almost curate their own gallery. So when you land on your pick time, there is like the photographer's edit or like a highlights at the top. And then you go into the whole lot. So that again, if they want to go and show family and friends, they don't need to sit through the whole thing. It's like just
a shot of my jewellery.
Or like the 6 shots of one with the earrings in focus and one with the necklace in focus. And I think again, it's important for us that we do give sometimes that chunk so that it's preserved. So that if someone comes on, I think I did a wedding a little while ago and the bride joked and was like, oh, well, I'll use that one for the insurance purposes because Granny had left her ring. And obviously they needed a photo of it to prove that it was the size I said it wasn't the rest of it. And she was like, oh, no, I don't need to bother now. And almost because she wore it on her wedding day, she was going to send them my picture so that they could use it for the insurance, which is maybe the most glamorous use of it. But again, it's, you know, but you do feel that you kind of need to, and you have the ability to kind of capture everything. Where if you were looking at making an album, you just put the one nice kind of detail shot in and that would be it. So I guess maybe that's the consumption with photo versus video has been highlighted there, but it is nice to see that as a videographer you can stand there as someone that does actually get back into your film and
get behind it. Maybe I need to get a photo album. Maybe that's a sign that I need to get an album.
Particularly now that I think that you've got a little one as well to kind of sit with her a book and there's mum and and I think that's something really important as well, that when I do photograph weddings to people with kids, it's that point of stress of like, if they're like 2 on the day, they all kind of be drawn to that photo because they're in it, even if they don't have loads of memory on it. But then as they grow up, they'll feel more attached to your wedding because it's like photo as memory type thing. Like you said, they'll know the pictures that they're in because they've always grown up looking at it.
That's a nice thought, actually. Yeah. So my question for you, this is a little bit of a cheat because I think I've asked you this outside of the pod, and I was surprised by your answer. But so if you could choose between working with a videographer every single wedding, or never working with a videographer, which would you choose?
I'd never work one again. I thought, definitely. I think there's a variety of reasons for it. I, am a quite chatty person, and I found this as well, that if I work with second shooters or I work with videographers, I love the collaboration of working with someone else on the day, particularly someone sometimes that I haven't met as well, and that kind of, oh, how are you doing? It definitely takes me away from the wedding. Like on a dinner, so if I'm by myself, I sit down, I probably phone home, catch up with my food, and then I'm back in the room. If there's a videographer and we're engrossed in a conversation,
2 hours,
we would shoot the breeze for easily that hour and then go, oh crap, it's probably speeches soon. We'll go back. Or even during Candids, you have that little conversation before groups, so you're kind of checking in with them. And it probably does. I still do a fantastic job for my couples, or I work hard for them, but I feel like that conversation I'd be having with a guest or with someone else. And so I feel like I bond with the wedding people more. there's always the kind of that like laughy jokey thing of, well, I didn't capture it, didn't happen. Okay, and then there's that, so that there's no, oh, this really, the videographer got this, like they're not photos of that.
Yeah.
I've never really kind of been bothered about that.
No.
I kind of think that there's so many things that happen at a wedding. There's, someone could be walking around with their phone and they'd capture some gold that I was in a different place. You can't be everywhere at once, and particularly when I prefer to work solo as well, there's always going to be things that you miss, and you could have 10 photographers at your wedding and there's still stuff that you'd miss. So
yeah, definitely. And I've definitely worked with photographers recently who I've been solo and sort of, if I'm solo and we both capture the same thing, or we both miss the same thing more so, they say to me, oh, at least our coverage is like synced, so that we've both missed the same thing, or whatever it is. Like recently I had a church wedding where the bride walked down the aisle, but obviously like the vicar walks in front, and then like someone was behind the vicar and they didn't move for the whole aisle walk. So basically, neither of us got the actual clear image of the bride, sort of thing. And at least we both didn't get it.
Yeah, you kind of back up to each other that it was an impossible situation.
Yeah, exactly,
See, I've never really subscribed to the kind of like, it just makes me, that gives me an excuse to kind of work a little bit less because there's no one to kind of chase me up. I don't know. I kind of think, and particularly I found over the last few years, because I've probably gone a little bit harder into documentary, I find it even easier to kind of fly under the radar, because I'm the only supplier really a lot of times that are with people. You do settle in a lot quicker, where people are a lot more camera aware, I think, when videos going on naturally, because they come into a ceremony space and there are tripods set up, or someone goes, that person's mic'd up. I think sometimes people behave slightly differently in certain moments if there's not video, because they know it's just me and my camera, and it's like that kind of feels differently. So I think, for me, although sometimes it would make this job a lot more lonely and make me more grateful for kind of supplier meetups, my network would be smaller. I've learned loads from working with you on wedding days as well as doing this. If it was my way, if I had to choose one or the other, I would work by myself at every wedding.
Do you find it like it would creatively hinder you to have a videographer at every wedding? Like almost, because I often say a lot of our job depends on the photographer.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought, that like
it's true.
Our day and our video depends a lot on how the photographer is.
I would say yes. I think that I definitely feel that if I know I'm working with a photographer or a content creator, that they almost kind of get like plan B of my style. I might rely on the 85 a little bit more. I haven't got that, kind of set dances where you can be a little bit close, get in, get your shot. I would still feel that I was in the videographer's way for that. So I would rely on being a little bit more on the outside. I maybe wouldn't be as close on the dance floor in certain moments where I would creep in and slowly kind of get braver and get closer. I would always be looking over my shoulder
to make sure you're not.
To make sure I'm not in their shot. So I think maybe that's it. That's some of the appeal as well, is it means that as kind of a sole creator on those wedding days, that I can literally just do my thing and kind of compose as I want to, and know that there's not, and also nobody else to consider. Because I feel sometimes that even though I've been doing this for a long time, I make sometimes quite rational decisions on the spot. Where like, if it's like sunset, for example, I might have had it set in my diary that go, it's going to be 8:45. And then you go out at 8:20 and go, there's a fat cloud there. If we don't do it now, we're going to miss it. And if I've got to go and find the bride, the groom, and the videographer, and they go, we don't really want to go now because like we've got to set up the first dance, it's not really convenient. I would probably then go, okay, we'll just wait till later. Where I can make my creative decision and stick with it. I haven't got to consider anybody else. I like that.
I think it makes sense.
And I think there's some people really rely on that. I'd love to know how it worked the other way, that if you asked a videographer, like I think that would really kind of separate the videographers who are the real creators. And I think, and again, without kind of casting shade on too much, because you always work with photographers, I think there are a lot of videographers that have always fallen into this route of they're just in permanent compromise mode, and their film is only as good as the photographer they work with. Like I know that sometimes I've had a couple of videographers and me going like, are you really done on the couple shoot? It's like, are you not going to like make them do a spin or nothing? And it's
I was going to say this. Like,
it's like, no, if you want to spin them, ask them to spin. Like you have a tongue in your head. You are here. They've hired you and paid you money to create for them. You shouldn't have to just film what I did, what I lay on for you. Do you know what I mean? It's not
equally like I work with people who are surprised when I chime in. And it's like, like something will be happening and I'll be like, right, I'm just going to do one for video now. So if you could just do this, and like, it's like, okay, you're getting involved
you want input.
Not even like, not in like a dramatic, the videographer's good.
Like an egotistical way.
But more of a, like you stepped in and directed.
You have ideas.
What's going on here? So,
and I think it should be. And imagine if that ever comes to the point of conflict, then that becomes messy. And we've spoken about that at length before. But I think that you should have, like they've hired you for your creativity. And if you're not creative, you just film what the photographer does. That for me sets up for not a very exciting gallery.
And you'll never have a style.
Yeah.
Because if you turn up and you've got like a documentary photographer like yourself and you just go, oh, well, he's only done a minute of a couple shoot and it's like just someone walking. So that's all I need as well, to be fair. And then you turn up to the next wedding and you've got an editorial photographer doing an hour with like lights and stuff and you film for an hour. Your style, which one is your style? Which one are you just compromising? Yeah.
And it's odd as well because I think, and I was talking to a couple at Wedding Fair about this the other day and they seemed quite surprised in that I think though, when I deliver a gallery, I think about it not in terms of video of moving, but because primarily I work solo, I try to deliver a gallery which really tells narrative, that gives narrative. It doesn't just give you a collection of moments or a collection of events.
Yeah.
And I've really lent into that over the last couple of years. That, like for example, I was at an outdoor wedding the other week. Drinks are happening on the lawn. Best man goes, "Oh, it's now time to make your way to the seats of the ceremony." Oh, well, I was trying to sit myself in a nice composition of the landscape. Up to high aperture and try and get enough like people like blurry moving through the frame as if they're walking to the ceremony or they're walking to dinner, so that you can, and it's not a frame that anybody would put on the wall, but if you then haven't got a video and you look through that gallery, you can see the movement of space to another. I tried to not make sure that my last photo at the bride house is just a portrait in the window and the next thing you appear at the venue. There's got to be that kind of sense of leaving or transition
outside the house
somewhere, like with the car with the doors open or like whatever. And again in the evening as well, like for a gallery just to finish on the dance floor, to finish with the noise of the dance floor thing is really odd. So I always now try and get that, whether it's like looking through the window as you're leaving with kind of the lights playing out, or a cool kind of like, again, like a night shot of the venue with kind of that stuff. So you kind of feel that sense of you pulling away, not kind of you cutting something off at a really high moment. And I wonder I always think, well, if I'm working with video, they tell a story, so there's kind of elements of that there. But because my style is built around being a solo shooter, maybe that's why it feels more of a compromise if I do work with video.
Yeah, I do agree. And I wonder what other photographers would think as well about that. So if you are a photographer and you have an opinion on whether you'd work with a videographer at every wedding or no weddings, then let us know.
Yeah, and also I think as well, if you are someone which is more editorial and more lean into getting those kind of magazine-worthy bits, you might agree that me trying to do those in between storytelling things is pointless, because they want a set of images that looks like a magazine spread where you flick it and they get the big portraits, the big moments, and rely less on the other bits.
I think I've seen your galleries and I like the way that you transition.
I just feel like it flows. It doesn't feel like it doesn't. I always kind of work with that kind of in the back of my head that if someone they showed this to someone that wasn't at the wedding, they wouldn't be so where are we now then? Like they would get that sense of you're moving somewhere else. Or
this year I've been making a specific effort to get some shots of people sat down at wedding breakfast. I think most of the time it's not the best shots, but it avoids that a couple bride and groom get announced in and then first dance.
Yeah.
So hang on, what?
There's a whole load of things. And if that like lull, if you like, with dinner finishing and the first dance starting isn't particularly exciting or fulfilled with anything, it is hard, isn't it, to get that? But even to have a little bit of B-roll of just like two people laughing together at a table, or someone like clinking a drink or passing a plate, and
or just getting their bread or whatever it is.
Like long tables. I think the fact that they've kind of fallen into fashion this year has made it really, really easy to kind of get that long shot down a table with candles flickering and stuff. And I love
people cheersing at long tables, and when a group of people do that in the middle.
It's again, and to have that, those things make your life a lot easier, don't they? Yeah. But I still think again, like, when you break it down, it's like if you're at a wedding for 10 hours, dinner's probably 2 of it.
Yeah.
So it's like it almost feels mean that you shouldn't spend 20% of that wedding on your break. Do you know what I mean? Essentially, I know there's obviously other things. You'll maybe flying the drone or setting up. Not that, but it still seems like a huge chunk of the wedding to completely disregard.
Yeah.
And I think leaning into those bits of me, I think it's made it more exciting.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's wandered off on a bit of a tangent to where we started, but what else have we got on the list? Do you think that couples care as much about the technical aspects of photo or video or even kit as we do?
No. It's simple as that, basically. I think a photographer could turn up with, I don't know what the equivalent is, like a 5D Mark II or something, and the couple would not care at all. And similarly, we could turn up with old cameras, and I'd say like with like, I think I used to be more into gear than I am now. But whenever I upgrade now, camera gear.
It's going to be recurring.
I didn't want to say it. Yeah. Camera gear. That is, just to clarify for those. Yeah, I used to be more into it than probably I am now. But every time I upgrade now, I've always felt like it's more for me than it is for the couple, and I felt that probably ever since the A7 IIIs, maybe.
Yeah.
Because the A7 IIIs were great for like autofocus and things like that, so it made things much easier. I was much more likely, as someone who didn't master manual focus before I got into the A7 IIIs.
Yeah.
I found it then much easier to get things in focus and always like have that like flexibility of, oh, well, I know it's going to be in focus.
Yeah.
And that's better. Obviously reflects on the couple and things like that. Again, not that they're going to know.
Yeah.
But that actually affected the couple. Whereas now, like upgrading changing from an A7S to an A7 V.
Yeah.
Like that's just zero. There's zero that you will notice in the films, but for me, like having the better stabilization and things I'll speak about in the half year catch up episode. But all those kind of things like help me, and help my headspace. And similar with the microphones I use, with the little clip-on microphones, the Hollylands that I use now. Like that's made it easier for me because I'm not untangling wires and micing everyone up with the Tascams individually. And I just literally slot them into my bag and I have them at all times. So now that headspace is completely gone of, okay, I've got to put my AAA batteries in there.
But at the same time, if you literally had to go up to a couple and go, you need to hold this mic because my recorder's attached to it, they would probably just go, oh, okay, on the day and accept that's how it is, because they don't really know any different. And go, well, have you not got one of those wireless things then? Or like, or if you delivered the video in 1080 and they come back and go, well, we're really expecting a 4K output from this, or like, whatever, or like, we're noting that the drone footage looks a little bit. I think it's only when there's those big differences, isn't it, that they go, you've got a drone, mate.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest.
That's it.
Like maybe a bit more politely than that. Yeah. But again, are we going to get aerial footage in our film? And that's almost a marker of, that's better than. It's not like, yes, I can give it to you in vertical and in horizontal, and also it's a higher dynamic range than the last. Yeah. And if you could have done 2 years ago, and they're like, is it drone?
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you've got like a shot from the sky of your venue, they're not going to care really for the most part. Yeah. So I think there are exceptions, and there are things that couples particularly appreciate as well. So again, with the clip-on microphones, I've noticed now when I say, oh, can I mic you up for video? And they go, oh, it's going to be a whole thing. And I go, done, and then walk away. They go, oh, wait, that's it. Yeah. Like, and that sort of, oh, that's it, makes me feel like quite good. Yeah. I'm like, oh, they're expecting.
But I think, again, I guess that's the experience that they appreciate rather than the
whole, like, okay, you stand there, I'm going to get this on, roll this wire up, and it's going to feel like a whole thing. Or your mate's going to come up to you and like, oh, yeah, you're doing this speech, mate, and that kind of thing. Whereas if I just go, that's done, like, it's less like, oh, we're making a video.
Yeah.
And more just like, you've hired me to do a job. That's my job.
Yeah. Because I've always wondered this, and I don't think it happens loads anymore, but like definitely when I first got into kind of shooting weddings, and you still see it now in FAQs, people feel the need to write what cameras they use. Yeah, you know what I mean? They go and it's like, is that a frequently asked question? Because I think in all the time that I've been shooting weddings, I've been asked more by a guest on the day that's interested in cameras than I ever have been by a couple.
I was going to say though that a lot of your couples are creative, so I thought you'd have got asked a little bit more, or some of your couples might notice more if you're shooting with an older camera.
Maybe again if they're photographers, but then I guess they just like your work, so they're not necessarily that fussed. But I think it's more normally, again, like an Uncle Bob or like someone on the day who, especially if you do work for someone who's in the creative industry, someone at their place maybe is that, and they're like, oh, what are you shooting on today? You have a conversation about it. Not that I'm super techie in that way anyway, but it always finds it odd when people feel the need to list it in their FAQs, and it's like, I work with the latest Canon equipment, and it's like, but does it matter? Like, would that be a deal breaker to go, well, I'm not going to book that guy because he's Canon? Like, I only want a Leica shooter for my wedding. Yeah. Like, would it make a difference? I don't know. It always strikes me as odd. Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of think it's a given that if you hire a photographer, then they're going to have a nice camera, or you'd freaking hope so. Like,
do you think that I would say that people cared about the gear when you?
No, I was just genuinely interested because I was thinking, again, maybe this is kind of a stereotypical generalisation.
Videographers
are more gear orientated, and I think people that really lust after video, particularly on the groom side more than the bride sometimes, love it because they think someone's going to turn up with a bunch of gadgets in the day and be like, I'm going to watch them fly the drone and this and that, and be more interested in those things maybe than they are from a photo side.
Yeah. I think, yes, it's a fair observation that videographers are probably more interested in that stuff. I think some of it comes down to the fact that I think photography plateaued a while ago in terms of like camera gear. Yeah. Whereas videography has still been growing up until probably A7S, FX3, that kind of thing. it was like every year there was something like groundbreaking about, or every couple of years. We would always lust for more. They'd be like, oh, but this isn't in it, this isn't in it. Whereas I don't think photographers have that at the moment, where they're like, oh, but I don't have this.
Yeah,
really. Have everything, really, for the most part.
And anything of it, and stuff now that stuff coming, it's almost stuff that you don't want. Like if they start to be able to bring like active AI to cameras, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like,
so like 10 years ago, I was using, these big thick boy microphones the size of an iPhone, with a wire coming out of it that I had to somehow tuck in people's pockets. And then for readings, I was using a light stand with a recorder on it and things like that. And the lights that I was using for dance floor were huge. They were massive. I had to lug them around in a big old bag on their own. Whereas now those things are smaller, the gimbal's smaller, the microphones are better, and so but that's come from me just periodically upgrading. Not necessarily because I'm like, new cool thing, but because they've actually been getting better.
It's funny that I had a conversation with, it was a grandma or a nan at a wedding this week. I walked past and she was sat, and I was like, oh, you're right, love. And she was like, oh, you've been running around all day, haven't you? And I was like, well, yeah, I tried to. And she was like, you've been so good. And I made my user joke of, oh, you haven't seen the photos yet.
Yeah, I do that as well.
But she's like, it's so different to when I got married. She was like, again, she's like, we had, 12 photos outside the church, one going in, and that was it.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's so much better these days that there's so much more that you can do and tell now. And I was like, yeah, that it is. I was like, but it only is that. I'd like to think it's only that way because technology's allowed.
Yeah.
Before it was maybe more that way because society was that way. But also, if you were shooting a roll of film, 12 exposures, it was much more, okay, we're shooting for this group.
Yeah.
And it was, the fact now that you can go to a wedding and shoot, if you wanted to, 10,000 frames in a day with very little financial cost over and above, it's allowed photography to adapt. Or someone's got if someone had a budget in the past to go, you need to shoot 100 rolls of film at my wedding to get the whole day, the cost would be astronomical. So almost I think it is a balance, isn't it? The technology has allowed what we do to change.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes as well, though, it's not always that people are, say, literally fussed about, like, brands and models and stuff. But
a lot of it is for us.
It's more surf. Yeah, definitely. That's why I wouldn't want to make our life easier. Like if it's
100%,
and particularly like with low light capabilities, like you say, even when you think we've both been in this like 10 years now. That when you look at some of that stuff when we first started, I remember having to shoot weddings and being like, I don't want to push the ISO on this camera over like 800 because it will literally be unusable. And you kind of really struggled as to how you were going to get on in a pinch, or you would have to rely on flash far sooner than you do now and things like that. So I think that becomes maybe something the couple would notice to go, oh, we don't really want you to use flash enough, so it'll be distracted. It's not have you got a camera that allows this? So it's just interesting topics to have. And it's not something that we really kind of always gloss over either. So I thought it'd be
that makes sense.
A cool question to
I do have a couple for next month who are photographers and videographers, and they did ask me like what gear I was using, and I think like if I was booking a videographer now, I would ask. Purely because I think you can tell a lot about people by their response to that, maybe. Like, I think there are two types of photographer that use an older camera. The type that has just absolutely mastered it and is just good with it, or the type that like doesn't care enough about their business to constantly upgrade things. The shutter might be dying, but they don't care. Like, it's like, oh, the lens is back focused, but I've been using this lens for years, so it'll be fine. That sort of thing.
Until the wheels fall off. It's
exactly,
gonna.
So I think the answer to that question, even though he was a Canon shooter, I'm a Sony shooter, that kind of thing. I think like obviously we sat there and chatted about cameras for a bit, and like it was obvious that we were both really interested in it. And I think that like passion and energy. Like,
but I feel like sometimes if you're like that, people joke about camera brands in the same way that football fans joke about football teams. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I don't know if I should let you shoot my wedding because you're a Nikon shooter. But once you get past it and you kind of have that little bit of back and forth, in the end, if you're someone that does know cameras, you'll go, they're pretty much all the same now anyway, aren't they? They're just they just have a different colour badge, and that's just how it is. But I think it's but it's how you respond, or the notion of that is not, I'm not going to book you unless you've got this camera. They're booking you for your skill, but I definitely agree though that I think I would never class myself as a techie person. I wouldn't know what the frames per second that my camera does, or what how many stops of dynamic range it has. But I know enough that if someone asks me about the kit, I'm aware of what I'm using, so I don't come across like.
Even before we start recording, you were like, "Oh, the A7 take a while to like wake up from sleep mode." And it's like something that you don't see in a spec sheet. But when we compared it against the A7 it was quicker. So instantly, like that's something that would improve your user experience like a tiny little bit. But like, it's not something that it's not something specky or
yeah.
gadgety.
It'd never been on a tech list. It's not like almost like a dick swinging thing to go, well, my camera does this many frames a second. It's like, well, how many times do you actually use that though? It's those things that matter. It's like if I throw it down the stairs, can I pick it up and use it at the bottom? Does it fire up quickly? Does it this? Like it's those things, isn't it?
I also think, just on a last note on that, is that the amount of gear kind of matters as well. I think that obviously there are videographers that turn up with a lot more stuff. I don't know how much happens in the UK. Most videographers in the UK are quite minimal in terms of their stuff. But like if you're turning up with a ton of gear, if you've got like gimbals like left, right and centre, like 2 or 3 gimbal, if you're lighting the speeches, that kind of thing, then couples care what you're using.
Yeah, because it intrudes on
But for the most part, like for me now, I'm like mostly handheld and one camera, and like it's barely obvious that I'm a videographer. In fact, like obviously most people still pose for the camera, and I'm like I'm filming. But yeah, I think that matters as well.
Yeah, interesting. Good one.
My next one is let's do this one first. So there's probably a whole episode in this, but how long do you see yourself being a wedding photographer for? And have you thought about a get out plan, and or is there one that you've thought about?
The answer, I think, is twofold. It's a yes and no thing. I don't ever see a time of me in my working career that I'm not shooting weddings.
Yeah.
Whether it remains the biggest source of income to what I do, and like if you ask me at the moment, what do you do for a job? I would tell you, and quite proudly, I'm a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be, I'm just a photographer, or I'm a photographer, and I do a few weddings. Like, I'm a wedding photographer, and I do proudly say that as well. I think there was a whole stigma for a time, where probably a lot of times I didn't, and made excuses for what I did.
Okay.
But I think, like I am a wedding photographer, and I think I'm okay at it.
Yeah, but you're not the guy who's a wedding photographer. In quotations.
That's it. If anything, I try not to use the term wedding photographer because it comes with stereotypes of kind of certain things, which I'm definitely not. But I think, whilst I do still a handful of music stuff, I do some private event work. There's other bits in there. At the moment, if I stopped doing weddings, my mortgage wouldn't get paid. You know what I mean? Yeah. The other stuff is kind of definitely kind of an add-on to running a wedding business. Whether it stays that way until I'm 70 years old remains to be seen. I would like to think that as long as couples keep booking me, and more so, I keep feeling that I'm adding value and I'm enjoying it, I will keep shooting weddings. Yeah. All the times I'm like physically unable and people want me to, there's a few people that are older in this industry that I kind of think, well, if they're still managing to get cool couples shooting cool weddings, and also already seeing kind of evolution in who I book. Like, I went for a while where a lot of my couples were younger than me, and probably a good chunk of my couples this year are younger than me. Yeah. But I've also, again, still realised that the things that I value and the things that I like to photograph are primarily rooted in the millennial market. Yeah. And I don't really want to or interested to kind of evolve to that level at the moment to kind of really kind of change my ethos and brand, or particularly go down a Gen Z forward marketing in order to kind of stay young. Yeah. Like I kind of think, well, yeah, I'm shooting, plenty of couples weddings who are maybe in their early 30s, and that's fine. You know, I'm still 5 years older than them, but their values are very similar to mine. So I'm at weddings that I need to be at.
We're both part of that millennial generation.
Yeah, I'd be lying, I think, if I said it hadn't crossed my mind. I think it crosses my mind, particularly if I look back in the past at times where I've probably been burnt out from weddings, those catch-up years. I definitely remember having a couple of long car journeys home at the end of a triple going, how much longer can I physically keep doing this? Yeah. And I don't think it was the job that needed to change. It was the amount that I took on, maybe keeping myself... there was lots of other factors at play that led me down that, how long do I think I could keep doing this? Yeah. But I genuinely think that two things. If weddings got to a point where I wasn't enjoying them anymore, or they were in decline for my business, I would still always have to work for myself. Going back and getting a job working for someone isn't an option anymore. The freedom and the enjoyment that running a business and being in control of my own life is huge, and I would do anything to stop that from being the case. Yeah. But I also think that even already there's kind of the skills that I have as a wedding photographer could easily open up in other areas of photography, and there's things that I kind of think, do you know what, I'd love to give that a go. Like, I just think it would be really fun, or I'd love to see, could I do that? Yeah.
Photography specifically.
Like I have a really good friend who shoots TV and film, and I'm not naive enough to think that I could jump out of this and go onto a Hollywood production like he works on straight away. But I'd love to give it a go. Yeah. Like, shooting documentary behind the scenes as like a TV
that'd be cool.
series is being filmed or a movie's being filmed. It's not even because you get to work with famous people, but again, the lighting's set up for you. They're in live action. You still got to get those cool things. There's elements of portraiture in it, which is what we do at weddings. There's still documentary in the live bits. There's still probably like some landscape stuff involved in scene setting, like shooting the people that are actually holding the actual cameras and doing the lights and stuff like that, like behind the scenes in that element. Love that. Like the idea of doing some of those stuff. If there was a way that I could do maybe a little bit more music again, like, doing that sort of stuff, like like tour documentary. There's lots of things I feel like I could do, which are almost offshoots of the skills that I have as a wedding photographer. So I think in primarily like the style or the way that I shoot won't change, but maybe it won't always be weddings.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't get into this. I think at the very beginning because it was like, it's a really good way to not work a lot and get rich. I just did it because I loved it, and I think as long as I continue loving it, then I don't see that I want to change that
and continue getting booked.
I think that's a lot.
That's the one thing I worry about is like, videography is getting more popular. Even when I booked my wedding, like in 2018, I think we booked our videographer. There wasn't that many videographers about then, whereas now there's loads. And like I every year I feel like there's a lot of people popping up, and they're growing faster than I was at the time and things like that. So I often have the thought of like, I don't know how much longevity I have in this before, either the whole world becomes content or there's just too many videographers and it's just we're fighting for scraps at the bottom.
It's true, but I also think that like that is the biggest excuse that stops people starting any business as well. There's loads of people doing that. I could never make a go at that because there's too many people doing it. And up to now, there's always been room, I think, for everyone. I think the more that you can never take experience away from someone. I think that's one of the things that people constantly remind me is that, yes, you laugh and go, oh, you're old. And I think for every one person that loves the idea of having someone really like young and like them and exciting at their wedding, there's still that thing going that we are spending a lot of money on a really important day. If we can look at this guy's films and go, that's what we want, to have someone at your wedding who has got tenure in this industry, has got networks of things if they are ill and it goes wrong, or and have proved that they can deliver consistently over a period of years, that's got to count for something. And some people love the risk, but they normally love the risk if it means it's coming at a cheap price.
Yeah, true.
And people will always do that. When they're buying a kettle, they'll go, we'll buy the crappy Asda one. And if it breaks, we'll just buy another one next week. And there's some people that will still go out and buy the £300 really fancy one because they want to buy something which is built to last and it's got good reviews and all of that. And we're exactly the same, I think. It's just finding a way to keep those couples that want the £300 kettle.
Agreed.
For want of a better word. Which is odd, because my last question to you was kind of in a similar vein, and I think your answer might be the same. And it was, what is your biggest fear working in this industry?
What is my biggest fear? I think...
it's quite an open question, and I left it that way for that reason. You can answer it as you will.
My biggest fear working in this industry... my biggest fear is that I am... How do you describe it? Like I've spoken on this podcast before about how leading into 2020 I was going to quit because I just wasn't enjoying it. So I think while I definitely enjoy it a lot more now, and while I would say to anybody I love my job because I do, I think I'm quite fragile. What's the word? I think that can turn around pretty quickly. And I think my opinion on something can turn around pretty quickly. And so if there is a bad year that I have or a bad couple of years, then my fear is that I'll start to like resent it again.
To turn back to how you were then.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, if things get harder with bookings or whatever, then I'll just like, because my normal thing is to step away and be like, okay, well, I need to be doing something. Because obviously, like, I'm a problem solver, so I'll constantly getting into things like, okay, well, this is happening, so I've got to do this, or this happens, I've got to do this. If I am not enjoying my job for a couple of years, either I've got to like change my brand and the people I'm targeting, or is it this, or is it this? So I guess my biggest fear is waking up and not enjoying it anymore.
That's fair.
And at that point, I don't know what I would do, because like there's nothing else I enjoy more. I think it's the main thing. I've gone through a lot of things like corporate work, YouTube, like a lot of things, and within the corporate work, lots of different types of video work. And there's nothing I enjoy more in terms of actual filming than weddings. So if I did wake up one day and decide I didn't want to do weddings, I would ditch all my cameras and not have anything to do with it again.
That's interesting. But I think as well, I also know that, from the friendship that we have, that you I think would be in a position to make a far more rational decision about that than me. I think you would be able to look at the numbers and go, this just isn't sustainable anymore. Yeah. The enjoyment's going down, the bookings are going down with it. At some point there is time to pull the plug on this, and then you'd have to find whatever it was that you were going to do. Yeah. Where I think I would probably get to the point where it was like, it'd be really bad, because it's like, I just want to keep doing this. I just want to find a way to make it work. There's got to be something we can do. And I think I would probably make a much more emotionally led decision, which wouldn't be the right one to do. Yeah. Where I think that from knowing the way that you go about your life and purchases and all of those things, I think you would probably see it coming probably a lot more and make a much more probably rational and business sensible decision about it, rather than sort of an emotional one towards your work.
Definitely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And the last thing I'd want to be doing is like scraping the barrel for couples that I don't want, or lowering my prices to a point where I'm like, I think I'm worth more than that, but I've got to charge that because I'm not doing well or whatever it is. So I think, and then obviously from that comes the resentment of like, oh well, people don't pay me enough, and it just builds up from there.
But I think as well, we've seen it in people, and I think like to walk away, to have enough self-worth or pride in your work, I guess is probably the right thing, to be able to go, no, I'm going to go out of this industry on my terms, and because I think it always leaves the door open for you to come back. Where I think we've probably all seen, not even just in our industry, but other businesses that have definitely been clinging on to the last, and in the end, no one wants to support a sinking ship, or it feels desperate. Like I would never want to be that person, which is literally, you could almost feel like you're begging for bookings. I would never want a pity booking from anyone, or feel that in the end there's other suppliers going, oh, well, just message Tom, like he could redo with that.
Or like only talking about price, like actual selling.
Like I want to keep people booking me because I'm excited about it. They're excited to book me and the work that I can make at their wedding.
Half price weekdays.
Or I think again, maybe like I said, those emotional decisions. It's like you have that integrity as a creative, or enough esteem in what you produce, and go, no, this is valuable, whether it is at a wedding or it's somewhere else. I still have experience and skill which is valuable as a photographer or as a videographer, that if I get to the point where I'm say mugging away into 500 quid because that's the only way that I can get booked, you'd never be able to move into anything else, because your value in your own work would be in the absolute gutter. That how would you pull yourself into anything else?
Be confident enough in your work to be like, I can do whatever I want to do with this.
I mean, that'd be a big one, I think, as well. It's not feeling that it was getting to that point where you kind of literally were the guy that was old and past it, and people felt sorry for you, and in those elements. It's staying current, I think, is a big one.
That's a huge thing, and I think that's where the fear comes from a little bit. Like we spoke about it in the previous question, and that was just like, at some point, this whole like fear of like maybe waking up one day and just hating it, like that comes from age as well for me. Like where you say for your whole working life you'll be doing it. I don't think I will. But I don't know, because when I started it, I was like, this is a max. When I turned 30, I did not want to be doing this. And now I'm 32 and enjoying it more than ever. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but like, I feel, because I know myself and I know how flexible I am in terms of like 1 year I'll just be a completely different person to I'll have different opinions on how life should be compared to the year before. Like one day I'm like, well, when I turn 40 or whatever, I'm going to be like, right, it's time just to get a safe job or whatever.
But I think being like that is so much better than being stuck in your ways and refusing to change.
True.
Like at the same time, I don't think you should flip flop and just chase trends. We've spoken we've spoken about that at length, that you shouldn't literally just see a trend down the road and run after it, because then that doesn't build any sense of brand or belief or anything. Like you don't stand for anything, then you just stand for what's hot at that moment. But at the same time, you don't want to be that guy now that, like I say, is still clutching hold of their 5D Mark IIIs and only wanting to shoot classic portraits and have not had no concept of what people want these days. I think there still needs to be enough people that want the photography that I want to make, or don't want to spend their time on TikTok chasing hot take videos to find their dream supplier. As long as there can always be a natural kind of balance between people that want what I do and me that wants to make it, then I'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've got to be flexible in what we do and realise that people need change.
Yeah.
But stick to what you believe in, otherwise you're selling something you don't believe in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's quite a nice way to finish. Like, I don't want to get it's going to be a sour note at all, but I think that maybe the questions got a little bit deeper as we got on, and I think there's been a nice kind of balance in there. And again, I would love to know other people's opinions, because I know it really does vary, and there is no right or wrong answer. Like, if you are in this purely for for the kind of the life that it allows you to lead, or the money that it brings as well, there's nothing wrong with that, I think. And then once that starts to dip off, you move to something else. I think that's totally fine. But then also there are other people in this, much like us, that are like, no, I genuinely love my job, or if I don't do this, I'll go and do something else in weddings because I like being at weddings. I think there's everyone's answer is different, isn't it? And I was interested in what anybody's opinion of what we have to say is, and just hearing other people's stories is fun.
It's been nice to do this because we're broaching topics that perhaps wouldn't make the episode topic discussion sort of thing, and asking each other's questions has been able for us to inject our own topics, also for to find out more about each other, but also put more of our personalities into this. I feel like some of them have been very opinionated. So
that's particularly as well coming off the back of, I feel like this year, some of the episodes we've done, there's been some which have kind of felt, again, quite of the moment, how the situation is. There's been quite a bit of AI talk, and I think that comes to with excitement with a lot of people, but a lot of trepidation for other people. So to kind of bring it back to just two guys sat in a dining room talking about the way they run their businesses and the beliefs they have, I think hopefully it's been a little bit it's felt a little less kind of like polished pod, a little bit just more actually us.
And sometimes it's nice to know that other people have the same worries as you.
Like
the amount of times I do get messages from people and it'd be like, oh, I'm worried about this and doing this and whatever, and I'd be like, you'd be surprised how many people I've spoken to that are worried about the same thing. So don't worry, just 100%. Relax. We're all just in the same boat. So
and because we are sat behind these cameras and in front of these microphones, it doesn't mean that our opinions are any more or less valid than you. It just means that we've come together to make this, to kind of make you guys feel less lonely and make ourselves feel better by verbalising it. So there's definitely no pedestal in just because we put these out. So
let us know what you think of any of the questions that we've spoken about today.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching.
We made it through the heat.
We made it through the heat. Meal deal time.
And that's it.
We might get 2 drinks.
Ice lolly is my snack. I think it's going to happen today. I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Banging. That's good. 58 minutes.